The snow is falling sideways, sharp and dry, cutting across the open steppe like thrown glass. It is just before dawn on November 23, 1942, near the small Soviet town of Kalach, west of Stalingrad. Engines idle in the dark. Radios crackle with broken signals. Somewhere in the distance, artillery thumps like a slow, distant heartbeat. You can almost feel the freezing wind pressing through thin coats and worn boots. And if you want more content like this, subscribe now and comment below. And in that moment, although many men do not yet know it, one of the largest armies in German history has already been sealed inside a steel ring. For weeks, the German 6th Army has been fighting street by street inside Stalingrad. They have taken factories, lost them, taken them again. The Volga River is so close that some soldiers swear they can hear water moving under the ice. But on this morning, the danger is no longer inside the city. It is behind them. Soviet tank armies have smashed through weak Axis flanks north and south of Stalingrad. Romanian units have collapsed under pressure they were never equipped to handle. Now the pincers have closed. The encirclement is real. It is confirmed. Over 250,000 German and Axis troops are trapped. At headquarters far to the west, Adolf Hitler receives the reports. Maps are spread across tables. Red arrows mark Soviet advances. Blue lines show German positions that no longer connect to anything. The truth is clear to the men reading the situation reports. The 6th Army can still move. It still has fuel. It still has tanks and guns. A breakout to the southwest, toward the Chir River, might save most of it. Time matters. Every hour matters. But the order everyone expects does not come. Instead, Hitler refuses. No breakout, no retreat. The 6th Army will hold its ground. To understand why, you have to step into Hitler's mind at this moment, not as a caricature, but as a man shaped by earlier victories, deep fears, and a rigid belief system that leaves no room for reality once it turns against him. Just 1 year earlier, retreat had seemed like a foreign concept to him. In the winter of 1941, German forces outside Moscow had nearly collapsed. Temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Celsius. Engines froze, weapons jammed. Entire units were at risk of being overrun. Many generals urged withdrawal. Hitler refused then too. He ordered his armies to stand fast. Against expectations, the line held. The Soviet offensive stalled. Hitler took the lesson deeply and personally. In his mind, holding ground was not just a tactical choice. It was proof of will. Proof that belief could overcome material limits. That experience became a dangerous obsession. From that moment on, Hitler increasingly believed that retreat was weakness, and that weakness invited disaster. He convinced himself that any withdrawal would turn into a rout. He no longer trusted the judgment of his generals. He trusted what he called firmness. He trusted himself. By late November 1942, that mindset dominates every decision. Reports from Stalingrad warn that fuel stocks are limited, but still usable. Officers on the ground, including senior commanders, argue that a breakout must happen immediately. They know the Red Army is still reorganizing. They know Soviet supply lines are stretched. They know the German army still has striking power. But Hitler sees something else entirely. He sees Stalingrad not as a military position, but as a symbol. The city bears the name of his enemy. He has already announced its capture to the German public. Propaganda has framed it as a turning point. To abandon Stalingrad now, even partially, feels to him like political defeat. And political defeat, in Hitler's mind, is worse than military loss. There is also a deeper fear at work. Hitler is haunted by the memory of 1918. He believes Germany did not lose the First World War on the battlefield, but through collapse at home. He fears that retreat will break morale, not just among soldiers, but across the Reich. He imagines panic spreading, faith dissolving, enemies sensing weakness. To him, holding Stalingrad is holding Germany itself. At the same time, Bama Hitler is being told what he wants to hear. Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe, confidently claims that the Sixth Army can be supplied by air. He promises hundreds of tons of food, fuel, and ammunition delivered daily. On paper, it sounds possible. In reality, it is fantasy. The available transport aircraft are too few. The weather is too harsh. Soviet fighters and anti-aircraft guns are already tightening their grip on the airspace. But Hitler clings to Göring's promise because it allows him to avoid the decision he hates most. Authorizing a breakout would mean admitting that the situation has slipped beyond his control. It would mean trusting generals he increasingly despises. It would mean giving up ground he has sworn never to surrender. There is also a critical misunderstanding of time. Hitler believes the Soviets will pause. He assumes they will focus on tightening the ring, not crushing what is inside it. He thinks relief forces can be assembled quickly from the West. He imagines a dramatic reversal, with the Sixth Army holding firm while a counter-offensive smashes the encircling troops. It fits his worldview. It fits his belief in sudden, decisive strokes. It ignores the reality of distance, fuel shortages, and exhausted units. Inside the pocket, conditions begin to change almost immediately. Temperatures plunge. Ammunition usage is restricted. Fuel is rationed. Horses are slaughtered for food. Wounded men pile up in makeshift shelters. Still, many officers believe the order to break out will come any day. They wait. And each day that passes, the chance of success shrinks. By early December, Soviet forces have reinforced the encirclement. Order. Tank units dig in. Artillery is positioned to cover likely escape routes. The window is closing. Reports sent to headquarters become more desperate. They describe frostbite cases rising, aircraft failing to land, entire units reduced to shadows of their former strength. Hitler reads these reports, he marks maps, he issues orders that sound firm but change nothing. Hold your positions. The army will be supplied. Relief is coming. He does not see the Sixth Army as a living force with limits. He sees it as a fixed object on a map, a fortress that can endure if only it refuses to yield. This is the core reason he refuses a breakout even after encirclement is confirmed. To Hitler, movement equals loss of control. Holding ground equals strength. Reality, logistics, and human endurance do not carry the same weight as belief and symbolism. Thus, he is no longer fighting the Red Army alone. He is fighting the idea that his judgment can be wrong. As December deepens, snow buries wrecked vehicles along the steppe. Airfields inside the pocket shrink under constant attack. The Luftwaffe's promised airlift delivers a fraction of what is needed. The men on the ground understand what this means. They are not being held to save them. They are being held to satisfy an idea. And still, no breakout order comes. The tragedy is not that Hitler did not know the risks. It is that he knew them and dismissed them anyway. In his mind, the Sixth Army is already committed to a role greater than survival. It has become proof of his will, proof that Germany does not retreat, proof that symbols matter more than men. By mid-December 1942, the reality inside the encirclement can no longer be hidden by optimistic reports or confident language. The Sixth Army is shrinking, not on maps, but in human terms. Frostbite claims fingers, toes, entire limbs. Dysentery spreads through dugouts carved into frozen earth. Ammunition is counted shell by shell. Fuel is measured in minutes of engine time. Men burn furniture, crates, even rifle stocks just to keep from freezing at night. You can almost hear the silence between artillery barrages, a heavy silence filled with hunger and waiting. At the center of this collapsing world stands General Oberst Friedrich Paulus, commander of the Sixth Army. He is a staff officer by nature, precise, methodical, loyal to orders. He understands the situation with painful clarity. His headquarters receives daily updates showing aircraft losses rising and deliveries falling. On some days, less than 1/5 of the required supplies arrive. Airfields are shelled, transport planes crash on landing or never return at all. Still, Paulus does not disobey. The culture of the German army, reinforced by years of Hitler's interference, leaves no space for independent action at this level. Without direct authorization, a breakout is unthinkable. Outside the pocket, one last hope forms. In December, German forces launch a relief attempt from the southwest. Tanks push forward through snow and Soviet resistance. For a brief moment, the distance between the relief force and the trapped army narrows. The gap shrinks to less than 50 kilometers. Inside Stalingrad, your officers beg for permission to move toward the sound of the guns. Even a limited breakout, they argue, could link the forces and reopen supply lines. Hitler refuses again. From his headquarters, far from the cold and starvation, he believes the Sixth Army must stay where it is. He insists that holding Stalingrad pins down Soviet forces. He convinces himself that retreat would waste the sacrifice already made. In his mind, the army has crossed a point of no return, not because of the enemy, but because of symbolism. Stalingrad must not be abandoned. To him, that name still matters more than the men dying beneath it. This refusal reveals a deeper shift in how Hitler views warfare. Earlier in the war, he had intervened often, but still within some strategic framework. By late 1942, his decisions are increasingly emotional and absolute. He frames choices as moral tests rather than military calculations. Hold or betray. Stand firm or collapse. There is no room for flexibility, no room for adaptation. War becomes a test of belief, not logistics. Inside the encirclement, belief does not stop hunger. Horses are long gone. Bread rations shrink to crumbs. Soldiers boil leather belts to make soup. Wounded men freeze to death in unheated shelters. Entire battalions exist only on paper. The idea of a breakout now becomes physically impossible. Tanks lack fuel. Men lack strength. Weapons cannot be moved through deep snow without vehicles that no longer run. By January 1943, the Sixth Army is no longer an army in the functional sense. It is a collection of isolated pockets, each clinging to ruins and frozen trenches. Soviet artillery pounds positions day and night. The loudspeakers broadcast surrender offers across the snow. Some men listen, others do not. Most are simply too exhausted to care. Hitler's final decision removes any remaining illusion. Instead of authorizing withdrawal or surrender, he promotes Paulus to the rank of Field Marshal. The message is clear and unspoken. No German Field Marshal has ever surrendered. The expectation is silent but absolute. Paulus understands what this means. He also understands that continuing the fight will only kill more men for no purpose. On January 31st, 1943, in the shattered ruins of Stalingrad, Paulus surrenders the southern pocket. 2 days later, the northern pocket follows. The battle is over. More than 90,000 exhausted survivors march into captivity. Few will ever return home. The frozen battlefield becomes a graveyard stretching across the steppe. Looking back, the question remains hauntingly simple. Why did Hitler refuse a breakout even after encirclement was confirmed? The answer is not a single mistake, but a chain of beliefs. He believed retreat was weakness because holding in 1941 had worked. He believed symbols could replace strategy. He believed loyalty mattered more than judgment. He believed promises that supported his wishes and dismissed facts that challenged them. Most of all, he believed that will alone could overcome reality. Stalingrad proves the opposite. It proves that armies are not ideas. They are made of human bodies that need food, fuel, warmth, and time. When those are gone, belief collapses. The Sixth Army does not die because it lacks courage. It dies because it is denied movement when movement still mattered. The refusal to authorize a breakout is not just a tactical failure, it marks the moment when Hitler's war becomes disconnected from reality. From this point forward, similar decisions repeat themselves across the Eastern Front. Hold at all costs. No retreat. No flexibility. Each time, the result is the same. Encirclement. Destruction. Loss. Stalingrad is not the beginning of Germany's defeat, but it is the moment the path becomes irreversible. And at the centre of it stands a single decision, made not in the snow and blood of the front line, but in a warm room, over a map, by a man who could no longer tell the difference between strength and stubbornness. You can almost feel the cold again as the story ends. Not because winter has returned, but because this is the moment when an army is sacrificed to an idea, and history turns in silence beneath falling snow. If you want more content like this, subscribe now and comment below.